Ounce. Actually, ounce, but we'll get to that in a minute. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Brand new Breath of the Wild cart coming your way. This one, the best it's ever been. Let me know in the comments down below if that gets you excited. Because what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce, and I bring you epic weekend news as we dig deeper into the Switch 2 and one of its very first potential games. So we're going to get straight into it and talk all about Zelda, Ounces, Switch 2, Pioro, Midori, and more. Now, there was a lot of talk about the Switch 2's codename, and for a while we were discussing Muji, which means plain in Japanese. It's supposedly derogatory in some other dialects, and it's also a clothing brand. But I suspected, as did others, that plain was hiding the true codename, that Muji was not the actual codename for the system, and rather Nintendo was using a codename for the codename because they're just bananas locked down this year. And it sounds like that is actually going to be the case. It really seems like the codename for Nintendo Switch is Ounce, or OZ as the abbreviation. Either of those would be the codename for Nintendo Switch 2, and therefore O would be a big designator for anything related to Switch 2. We have the NX for Switch 1, and now we would have OZ for the Switch 2. Now, I've heard some people talk about maybe it's Oz, like Wizard of Oz, because DLSS is wizardry of technology, magically using algorithmic technology to upgrade the graphics, but I'm going to stick with Ounce. I don't know that it has anything to do with Wizards or Oz. I think Ounce is probably the more likely name here. But the codename might mean nothing to you. You don't really care, but what if it had to do with a new game? And this comes from very credible leaker Midori. She's leaked a ton about Atlas, Sega, and upcoming Switch 2 games. And today we get a tweet that says there is a project at Nintendo with the codename U-King-O. It might be related to the rumors of the next Nintendo console codename. So instantly, this is a whole bunch of letters and a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, but we can figure this out. U-King is actually what Breath of the Wild was data mined to be called on Wii U. Okay, so back when Breath of the Wild came out for Wii U, it was data mined that like, hey, this ends up being the name of the executable on the Wii U game Breath of the Wild. It was U-King.rpx. Now, U-King-O, what would that mean? And it most likely means a Switch 2 version of U-King, a Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was U-King S on Switch, the S for the Switch, and now U-King-O, according to Midori, is a brand new project, and it's got a codename U-King-O, and O is referencing the Switch 2, so this is Breath of the Wild on Switch 2. This would be a hyped up, souped up special edition of Breath of the Wild that would include all the DLC and make the game better playing, better looking, better running. We have some details from Skipper93653 who says they believe this is an enhanced version of Breath of the Wild, and this is for the successor. Midori goes on to sort of give her thumb of approval, her stamp of approval, saying -C was for 3DS, -S is for Switch, -O is for Ounce, and then Midori is followed up by Pioro, who comes in giving even more knowledge, saying, I knew that codename, but never thought it could be related to Ounce or something, to be honest. Midori has made a great point here. So Pioro knew about the codename of this U-King-O, but wasn't really sure what the O stood for, and now all of these leakers putting their minds together. It seems like we've uncovered one of the first big Switch 2 projects, which could be a re-release of Breath of the Wild at or near launch to show what this system is capable of. Now, this would probably be an Ultimate Edition, so it might have like a special gold card. It might be packaged in with some accessories. It might be a very collector's type item, and it might be a great way to sell Zelda again at the start. If Nintendo knows it's going to take years for them to get the next true iteration of the Legend of Zelda franchise out on Switch 2, you could re-release Tears of the Kingdom, but people just paid $70 for that, so why not sell them Breath of the Wild again? My question to you is like, would you buy Breath of the Wild again, especially after experiencing Tears of the Kingdom? My personal take is like, Tears of the Kingdom made Breath of the Wild oh so much better, so I would find it a bit hard to go back to Breath of the Wild. Yet, at the same time, seeing Nintendo upgrade things into a 4K space, making the game run and purr at a wonderful frame rate, making it excellent looking, excellent playing, and incorporating all the DLC, and giving us some snazzy extras if it is a collector's edition, that could be pretty sweet. Would I rebuy Breath of the Wild 4K for $70? That is a tougher question. Money has been tight. I don't know. It feels like that's a tough ask since I've already played Breath of the Wild, I've already played Tears of the Kingdom, and now I'd be going back. But this is a great way to introduce a Zelda title right off the bat with Nintendo Switch 2, and we know that games that were released on previous consoles succeeded exceptionally well on Switch 1. I would argue that it's going to be different though, because the Switch 1 was so successful. How many people that that didn't play Breath of the Wild would get a Switch 2? I don't know, maybe some. Perhaps there's some that just got in with Tears of the Kingdom, and that's the audience they're targeting. The hardcore Zelda fans who they know will buy everything, and then the Tears of the Kingdom players that maybe want a second adventure and weren't around in the Switch ecosystem at the time of Breath of the Wild. It's a very strong launch title nonetheless, because with your launch titles, yeah, you might want to have one killer app, which I assume is going to be 3D Mario, but then you want to pepper in other titles that can just placate players as they wait for the upcoming holiday season, the next Direct, the next releases. The Nintendo Switch 1 started off with Splatoon 2, which was, a new game, but it was just building on the coattails of Splatoon 1. It brought out Breath of the Wild, which was sort of the epic first hit, and then we waited until Mario Odyssey for the big holiday title. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe ended up becoming the best seller of all, but I don't know that Nintendo maybe knew that initially. Maybe that was sort of their game of like, hey, let's put something that was really great on Wii U onto the Switch with, the awesome ability to take it on the go. And maybe Breath of the Wild U-King-O, Breath of the Wild 4K is sort of their Mario Kart equivalent, like, hey, let's bring back an older game that runs and looks better on this system. We can really show off what it can do and get people excited for the next Zelda. Now, if Nintendo wanted to be really awesome, they would find a way to package in new content into this release. I don't know that they would do that, given there's already been 2 DLC packs for Breath of the Wild, and it's probably a very slim chance. But if Nintendo were experimenting with 4K, if they were experimenting with porting this over to the Switch 2, maybe they had some fun and would add something extra. Even if it was just new costumes, new gear, maybe something from Tears of the Kingdom backloading into Breath of the Wild, not like mechanics or any of the weapons or any of that type of stuff, but just like, I don't know, things that are like asset based, right? Like suits or outfits or, I don't know, different costumes basically. We also know that this is probably legit, because Midori is very reputable, Pyoro is very reputable, and we heard way back when the Switch 2 rumors were first starting to spin their wheels that Nintendo was utilizing a 4K demo of Breath of the Wild to show off what the Switch 2 could do. In fact, that could have been one of their first projects that they attempted to port over to see what it was like to develop on the Switch 2 and see what it was like to take a game with the infrastructure built on Switch 1 and move it over to Switch 2. So it made perfect sense that that project eventually evolved into a retail release, and I do think Nintendo will copy the likes of Sony and Microsoft and resell you certain games with better versions. Now, the hope would be that some games just get a better update and you can play it. But this is a whole different discussion that we'll have a different day about, like, should there be a $10 upgrade fee? Should it just be a free upgrade? Should you have to buy the new cartridge? We'll have to wait and see how Nintendo handles all of that. But most importantly, it does look like Breath of the Wild is coming back to Switch 2. It does look like it'll be an early release, and it does look like the Switch 2 codename is Ounce. Take from that what you will. I don't believe that there's going to be any tie between the codename and what the system is or what it looks like. Plain was clearly just a plain Jane cover-up, and now we have what looks to be the true codename OZ or Ounce, potentially Oz for Wizard of Oz, but most likely just Ounce. And U-King-O, that's Breath of the Wild coming back to haunt you for another 100 hours of playtime. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you buy Breath of the Wild again if it was a launch window title on Switch 2? Love to hear your take. Until that time, though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.